Vegorax here for Synergy Bonus. You know, Spoony has a hardline rule. Doesn't play bad games. Naturally, what constitutes a bad game is largely subjective, but when he finds a bad one, he doesn't waste any energy on it. I, on the other hand, have no such scruples. And far more patience. With that in mind, tonight's 24-karat turd is the Sonic Chronicles Dark Brotherhood, a sort of hybrid RPG point-and-click adventure for the Nintendo 3DS, released in September of 2008 on the 30th in North America, published by Sega and developed by BioWare. Sonic Chronicles stands as a stark reminder that Sega is willing to do just about any form of gameplay for their cobalt-colored mascot, except the one he's good at. Sonic Chronicles is also notable for being BioWare's first attempt at a handheld project, in addition to being the first RPG in the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. There are a few good things to say about this game, so let's get those out of the way first. The graphics are very solid and very pretty in a soft, cartoony way. BioWare deliberately made the choice to design the game to look like the earlier entries into the Sonic franchise, to evoke a sense of nostalgia in the player, and for Sonic himself, who apparently views dashing around the Green Hills zone, smashing robots and saving the day through very rose-colored glasses. The environments are very vibrant and very visually appealing in the manner of an old Saturday morning cartoon. It's very cheerful while still managing to maintain the darker elements of the plot, emphasizing the point that a game needn't be 4 shades of gray and brown and gloom to have deeper, grim undertones. The music is catchy and familiar to longtime fans of the franchise, featuring a mix of classic soundtracks and updated remixes, as well as a few new compositions by longtime series member Richard Jacques. The story really shines in true BioWare fashion, even if Nintendo Power did dub it a generic Chaos Emerald hunt in their September 2008 issue. The story is the thing that will keep you coming back to the game and trudging along. The game does have a few cutscenes that are handled, interestingly enough, very much like the panels from the Archie comics. It's also very character-driven, giving the player a look into the personalities and motivations of the characters of the series, something that we don't often see in more traditional Sonic games. I wouldn't go so far as to say that this thing has much replay value. Once you've gone through the story, there just isn't much to go back and explore. If you really want to revisit the story, Archie Comics did do an adaptation titled Invaders from Beyond, although this acts more as a prologue to the game. The game isn't terribly long. An average playthrough is about 15 to 20 hours. I came in just shy of 18 hours, so it isn't the crazy time sink of most modern RPGs. It can be streamlined a bit by the player during the dialogue and cutscene sections by the selections that you make in the dialogue trees. You have the option of longer, at times very meandering dialogues, or quick business-like and to-the-point questions. Of course, if you choose the quick options, you're going to miss out on a good bit of the story and character development. But taking the slow meandering route seems out of place in a Sonic game. And who really is going to miss further characterization of Big the Cat? So why do I say this is another bad game? Well, it's the controls. It's not nearly as unplayable as, say, Kid Icarus Uprising, but it's another stylus-heavy game that didn't need to be. It starts with the overworld, where you move Sonic, or whichever character you happen to have in the lead party slot, by tapping places on the map that you want the character to move to, somewhat reminiscent of an old point-and-click adventure like King's Quest. When you do run into one of the many abundant enemies wandering around the map, it gets much worse. You have to tap, draw, and scribble all over the touchscreen in order to perform a special move, called POW, short for power attacks, such as Sonic's Axe Kick or Knuckles' Uppercut, to deal damage to enemies, thus turning every single combat into a running series of QuickTime events and tedious rhythm games. This wouldn't be so bad if it were limited to boss fights or scripted events, but grinding out a level around mid-game becomes incredibly time-consuming and a burden. You don't have the option of simply spamming the normal attack of each character either. Most of the run-of-the-mill enemies are immune to normal attacks, and the normal attack has a ridiculously high chance of missing on the very few that are vulnerable. Role-playing games are grindy by definition. If you don't like wandering around an area endlessly killing the same enemies over and over and over to level up, you're playing the wrong genre. But the stylus battles and the required POW attacks turn regular grinding into an endless slog. Not even the team combo moves lifted straight from Chrono Trigger redeem the system. They're big and they're flashy, and when you get a new one, it's definitely a little bit epic and you get that nice little reward sensation, dopamine rush, but after a while, they're just padding the duration of a fight. If I'm running into a regular low-level baddie out on the plains there and I just need, the 10 XP to level up, it doesn't need to be a 5 or 6 minute fight, but this game makes it into those things. Overall, Dark Brotherhood is just a disappointing game for what it could have been. There are a lot of great ideas buried in here, but very little of it gets fleshed out in favor of the gimmicky combat. Being an RPG, it isn't as twitchy as some of the more action-oriented Sonic games, but you're still functionally supporting the weight of the 3DS on one hand for your entire play session, unless you can come up with alternatives. I ended up using the kickstand from Kid Icarus again, which really cut down on the portable nature of the game. This had the potential to be something big, something really good. Like I said, the story is solid. I'm very enamored of the characters and the characteristics that they gave them. The enemies from the alternate dimension and so on are really neat and really well put together. The character designs are really nice. But, give me a D-pad and an A and B button. I don't need the scribble stick. If you don't mind stylus-heavy games and gimmicky controls, you'll probably get a lot of enjoyment out of this for at least one playthrough. It is a very good story, as I said before. But if you're just here to play a game and enjoy combat, this is not the game for you. Probably, at best, I could give this 2.5 out of 5. I don't have much more to say about this. There's a lot more substance to this game, so good night and good gaming.
Hey, thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed what you saw.
Let us know. Give us a like and a comment down below.
Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell to make sure you get all notifications from us.
And as always,
good night
and good gaming.